Oh, good evening. Welcome to Blue Collar Fishing Thursday Night Live. We have our good buddy Tim Zdrazil here with us tonight. Always a good time when we had Tim here.
Yeah, love chatting
So
with you all the time.
hopefully this time Tim won't get close to being arrested. Tim was one of my first guests back when I first did these lives. Oh, been several years ago now.
Yeah,
And Tim was one of my first guests, and back then his home Wi-Fi was a little iffy. So I think he was using his wife's office or something like that then, and then security came and like, what are you doing here?
oh yeah, it was
No.
a whole thing.
So hopefully some people will come on in here, but me and Tim will just have a chat as we're going. You can see the replay as you're starting. I'm sure all of you will come in and rewatch. We got a few topics that we're going to go over tonight with Tim here. If you don't know about Tim or me, I'll start off with me. I'm Blue Collar Fishing. I am a fishing based YouTuber. I'm a multi species angler, and I do focus on bass because bass is the most popular. We have bass in 49 of the 50 U.S. states. And Tim is a tournament bass angler in the. Now, you fish the more local tournaments, right? The series below the
Tour.
elites. And I hate that word.
Hey, they that's their call. That's their title. But yeah,
I'll say
no.
pros.
And
They get
again,
paid to do it, so I can say pros.
yes, the true pros.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean I've fished at the what I call the entry level, the mid level, and even as a co-angler, I fished at the tour level when they still had actual co-anglers in the tour. So I fished at all three levels. But when I do get back, I'll be fishing at the basically the entry level, kind of the weekend series level, and then the first step up, which is the on the Major League Fishing side, it's the Toyota Series, and on the Bass side, BASS, it's the Open Series. So that's where I'm headed back to, hopefully next year, if things go well. It's been a rough couple of years, but hopefully I'll be back
All
on
right.
tour and
Well, I
fishing at
mean, that happens.
that mid level. But yeah, I mean, those are both technically considered pro levels. It's just one's more affordable than the other, and you have to qualify in both sides of the house. You have to qualify to get to either of that level. And of course, there's the National Professional Fishing League now too, which is still there's not a qualification process, but you have to apply to get on with them, and they're very selective, and they're only taking top level guys to come on the NPFL. But yeah, that's the top.
All right. Now, would that be like semi-pro, like baseball, single A, double A, triple A,
Yeah, for
major
sure.
league?
What it?
Okay, so it'd be like the
Yep,
semi-pro up your way to like the Bassmaster Classic guys or the
correct.
FLW. I forgot what their series
The,
is called, but like
yeah,
Jacob Wheeler. Jacob Wheeler is probably the biggest FLW guy now, right?
yeah, and they made it.
Or
Yeah,
MLF guy.
MLF guy. Yeah,
There is
and
no more FLW.
correct. They were acquired. But yeah, Major League Fishing has all four of those levels. They have the BFLs, which is the kind of the weekend series. They're 1 day events, except for the last tournament, which is a 2 day tournament. They have the Toyota Series, which is the mid pro rank, and then they have the Bass Pro Tour. Well, the there's there's a pro tour, and then there's that thing that they do on TV where they weigh all the fish with a marshal, and they have qualifying days and that kind of thing. I never get the names right, but you have to qualify to make it all the way to those. um, and but the nice thing about fishing it, that mid-level with bass or with Major League Fishing, is there's a true trajectory. I mean, there's a if you qualify here, you can go to here. If you make it here, you can go to there. So I've always wanted that in my fishing. I've always wanted to have a path. In fact, the Bass Opens, you can qualify for the Classic or the Elite Series directly from the Opens. So that's pretty cool. That's a really cool thing to get to do. So hopefully, I'll be back doing that next year.
Okay, and that would be so. like the Bassmaster Classic, you could qualify for that. Say like the U.S. Open in golf. If you win the opens, or you can qualify for the opens.
No, if you, I'm pretty sure it's still this way this year. If you win a BASS Open in any of the divisions, I think you're automatically qualified for the Classic. Um, I think that's a win and you're in. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's a win and you're in. And then they take the highest qualifying Open people with the best finishes in the overall angler of the year for those divisions. A lot of those guys will get elite series bids as well, and they can move up to the elite series. So I mean, there's definite paths there on both sides, and the same with on the Major League Fishing side. You can qualify all the way from the BFLs and end up all the way at the true Bass Pro Tour, where Jacob Wheeler and those guys are, by just going through the weekend series. And you start there and you can qualify for the Toyotas. You go from the Toyotas, you can qualify for the Pro Tour, and then you can qualify for those names that I can't remember. I should probably pull it up. But that top level tour where they catch and release every fish and they do the weights. And they do total weight for an entire day, not the 5 fish kind of format. So
Yeah, the MLF format.
yeah, the original
Major
MLF
League
before,
Fishing.
yeah, before they qualified or before they acquired FLW. I just can't remember the names. I should probably be smart and look it up. But
I forgot what that was called, but I remember watching. It's funny. I forget his name offhand. You probably know who that is, but the Japanese angler that was in MLF for a while.
there's a
But I
bunch
remember
of
him like just
them.
well, like he was a big name back then. Not Yamamoto, but like he was a bigger name.
Omori, Takohiro
Like
Omori, Shin
Taco.
Fukai.
That's it. I think so.
Shin Fukai. I actually fished with Shin
I
Fukai.
think it's Takahiro.
Okay. Um,
But I
yeah, so I
remember
got it in
him
front of
in
me.
this
Let me just
MFL.
do this real quick. So they have the BFLs, the Toyota series, which we already talked about. Then it's the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. That's what used to be the FLW Tour. That's still a 5 fish limit kind of situation. And then the Bass Pro Tour is what used to be just considered MLF when we used to watch those formats. But now it's the 80 pros fishing that format in the qualifying days, but it's all catch and release with a marshal in the boat. That's the names I couldn't think of.
All right. Now, what format do you prefer to fish in? Do you prefer the MFL Marshall in the boat catch and release, or do you prefer 5 biggest?
This has been a long-standing thing with me. I've never fished a catch and release weigh every fish format, so I can't truly speak to it. But when you've been geared for as many years as I have to, the tournament win's going to come on the day when I catch the 5 biggest fish or 5 bigger fish than everybody else. Um, it's hard to think about, well, I can catch 31 pounders and still win this event. It's a complete change in thinking, and I'm so geared to the 5 fish format. I would say that I'm always going to prefer the 5 fish format. That's not to say if I qualified for the Bass Pro Tour I wouldn't give it a try and try to figure that piece out, but it's a whole different level of thinking when you have to catch a maximum amount of fish per day to have the maximum amount of weight for that day to qualify or win for the qualifying rounds, to get to the cut rounds, to get to the championship round. It's just a completely different way of thinking. I know it's definitely better conservation wise. If I catch a 20-pound bag at 8 o'clock in the morning, that 20-pound bag is going to sit in my live well for 8 hours before they get weighed in. Now we take ridiculous steps to make sure that those fish are healthy and alive. Especially if you've got 20 pounds in that live well. I can promise you every 20 minutes I'm checking those fish and tending to them as best I can. But I definitely prefer that format. I prefer watching that format. I mean, I've watched hundreds of Major League Fishing events at this point, their live coverage online. And for the most part, I get bored. I flip back to it when there's 3 minutes left and you see who's on the cut line and that last minute fish, did they get
Hmm.
it in the boat and make it over the cut line? For me, and again, I'm not saying anything bad about Major League Fishing. Um, it's way more exciting to watch a five fish format and to me than it is to watch just one guy steady with a drop shot, not even moving the boat, and he's catching 1 pounder after 1 pounder after 1 pounder. Although some of their events now are 2 pounds, and the one they just had a couple weeks ago or last week was a pound and a half was the minimum fish weight. It had to be 1.8 in order to keep it or to count it. So, but it's just when they're just repetitively catching little fish and little fish and little fish, and they could win doing that. It's just not as fun to me. I would rather see a guy culling, a 1 pounder with a 6 pounder and jumping, 20 spots up the leaderboard is way more exciting to me. But that's just me. It's definitely good for conservation, though. I mean, you cannot argue when that fish is only out of the water for about 30 seconds total and then is released right there where it was habitating anyway. Habitating, is that even a word? Where it was living anyway. Um, I think that's fantastic for conservation. I think it's great for the sport. It's great for the fish. I have no issue with that at all. It's just not as exciting for me to watch. And I would struggle. I mean, I struggle in tournaments anyway. I think, all of us struggle in tournaments. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of, it's a condensed time frame. You're trying to maximize your bag weight for that day. But if I had to think about trying to catch numbers, like every tournament I go out, I know if I get 5 quality bites, I'm going to do well. I can't imagine trying to get 100 bites in a day. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm going to have to get 100
Hmm.
bites today to even have a chance at doing well in this tournament. Would freak me out completely. I mean, I have no clue how I would handle that. So, but that's definitely
Well,
my preferred method.
the one I was talking about, it's funny that you say it because I was watching an MFL event. This got been over a decade ago now. This was before like all the guys went to MFL. It was a classic or an invitational or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I think what's his Duckett used to hold them, right? And so they were there, and you just said it a while ago. Japanese, he was catching like 1 2 pounders, just one after the other after the
Into
other.
the other. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so he kept getting on the leaderboard, and Swindle was behind him at like number 2 at this invitational, and but Swindle was 12, 13, 14 pounds behind him,
Yeah.
so they were just going back and forth. But then Swindle called a 12, and Swindle won. So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
like a quality fish will put you, you know.
Oh, sure. But think
Yeah.
about, and I don't know, have you ever tournament fished? We've never talked about this. Have you ever done any kind of tournament fishing?
A couple of kayak events and
Yeah,
local
stuff like that.
tournaments when I
See,
was younger,
so you
but
have a
not
little,
not
you
in
got a
a
taste for it.
level
Yeah,
like that.
sure. But you know, that's the hard part for my brain to get around is all I've gone out in every tournament I ever fished going, I just need to get 5 bites. I need to get 5 good bites. I need to execute on those 5 good bites and I'm gonna have a good day. Now if I get 15 bites, all the better. But I have to get those 5 key bites. I've got to get those 5 decent fish. And I'm gonna have a good points day. I might get a good check day, or theoretically, if they're really good 5 fish, then I could even win the tournament. So it's hard for me to wrap my brain around not thinking about slow and steady in 5 bites and oh my god, I haven't had a bite, it's been an hour, and start spinning out when in any other tournament day for me, I've got 7 more hours, I only need 5 bites. You get what I'm saying? It's a completely different
Hmm.
mindset to me. um unless I just happen on a big school of fish and I'm just catching them one after another, but that doesn't happen a lot. That happens sometimes when you get lucky in their schooling and stuff like that, or you find a good spot offshore that's got a bunch of fish in it, then you can definitely do that. But it's just different. That's all.
Yeah, I think if I were to tournament fish, I would enjoy what you enjoy more. I think because that's what I grew up with. The
Right.
five
Yep.
biggest fish, the biggest bag. That was what you grew up with Bill Dance and Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston and then Hank Parker and those guys.
Yep.
So that's what I'm formatted to enjoy. Now I will say I think it's like a lot of things else. There's room for everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think the MLF format kind of expands the sport. It expands. Uh, you might need to mute one of your pages. I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah. I
So
canceled it.
I think the okay. I think the MLF format it expands the sport a little bit, and I think a lot of local tournaments probably should look at the MFL format because you don't need a $70,000 glitter rocket and a live well
Yeah.
and the best live well to keep the fish alive. So,
No,
so I think local
absolutely.
tournaments where you can have John boats and 16-foot aluminum flat decks and stuff like that in it, and also like I said, the kayak tournaments are pretty much geared around the MFL format. It's five biggest, but it's catch and release. You take a picture of it, and it's the
Right. Yeah.
what I mean.
And
So
it's more,
they're
and
kind
it's
of a combination of both.
no, for sure. And, but that's the tricky part is how do you, let's say 50 people want to fish that tournament. You have to have 50 marshals or some way to verify all that, or you're not going to have any credibility. One of the reasons I stopped fishing local stuff a long time ago is because the same two guys were winning everything every time, and I just don't buy it. I mean, there's no checks and balances. There's no way to know, and there's lots of theories about how they're cheating or why they're cheating. But in the sanctioned events, it's virtually impossible to cheat because you have a co-angler and a pro that are randomly matched together, and the chances that you could convince that guy to risk his future in fishing and cheat with you that day that you've never met, you've never talked to, is pretty slim. With a
Mm-hmm.
with a catch and release format, if you don't have 50 marshals to go on those 50 boats, and by the way, they're probably not going to do it for free. It's just hard. I mean, that's why more circuits don't do it. Major League Fishing can do it because they have 80 spots. There's 80 boats. They need 80 marshals, and they have a variety of techniques for getting those marshals to be at those events. And they can do it. If you had I mean, there was a Toyota Series event. I think it was in the Central Division, or maybe it was the Texas one. It had or 320 boats. I mean, it was huge. It was massive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's without co-anglers, there's no way you could pull that off. How are you going to find 320 marshals to do that? Or how do you vet everybody so that the co-angler has to weigh the pro's fish and the pro has to weigh the co-angler's fish? But if the pro's catching and you're constantly having to weigh that pro's fish and you're not fishing during that time, how would you pull it off? I mean, it's just a difficult model to do on a larger scale. Kayaks have it nailed. I mean, it's a fantastic way the kayak tours do it, um, because they give them a special card or a special label that day, so the picture had to
Mm-hmm.
be taken with that label that they just got. They have bump boards. You have to use a specific bump board when you're taking the picture. There's rules about it, and then yeah, for conservation, it's fantastic. Fish goes right back in the water. You've got a record of your catch, and if you catch the most length of your biggest five fish, then you're going to win that day. I mean, it's a fantastic format. It's just hard to duplicate it for the numbers that fish in Toyota Series BFLs, and even at the Pro Tour level, it would be very hard to do,
Yeah.
without building in some kind of mechanism. And I've always argued, I'm with YOLO Tech, the power stick for the GoPro
Mm-hmm.
mounts. They give you power all day on the boat. Um, the Why they don't make those required, and a lot of the Pro Tour side, even the NPFL now, you have to have a camera running all day. Because they don't have marshals for every guy. You have to have a camera running all day. The complete catch has to be in the camera shot. You have to see from cast to catch every time. I mean, they have a built-in validation mechanism that makes it virtually impossible to cheat. So it's a great format for that. But I would say, video should be required on almost every tour now. If you have it on video, nobody can argue it. You know what I mean? Nobody can accuse you of cheating.
Yeah.
I even started running my camera on tournament days before I had to take this time off. Because, I would tell the co-angler, I'm like, look, I'm running this to protect both of us. I'm like, I know it might be in your way a little bit, but I'm running this to protect us both. If anybody accuses us of anything during this tournament, we've got every minute of the day on camera. We don't have to argue anything. We don't have to prove anything. It's all on video. So it's a great way to cover yourself. So I'm shocked that more people don't do it.
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, welcome, FFN. Yeah, I agree. I think cameras should be part of the sport. I mean, you were talking about the locals a while ago. Cheating's been a part of a lot of competitions for years now.
Oh, sure. Corked bats.
I grew up on
steroids. I mean, you name it.
Yeah. Or in that case, I seen local. I've fished on local lakes growing up in Tennessee, and past the cheater cage with 5 fish in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen one yet live, but I've seen lots of videos of people pulling up on a basket and saying colorful words about people who cheat.
There's where your money's going.
Well, and it's just a shame because I mean, obviously my track record proves I've never cheated because I've never won one. But it's like I'm a really bad cheater if I was cheating. But now when Michael Johns, FX3 Michael Johns, I'm on the board of FX3 now. By the way, I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I didn't. Congratulations.
Veterans suicide. Prevention awareness, all that. Michael Johns is pretty amazing. But he and I were talking the other day, and I said, listen, when we win our first one, it's going to be because we beat the snot out of everybody else. It's not going to be because we cheated. There's no way I could ever hold that trophy up without knowing that I beat him that day. I was better that day than everybody else. But unfortunately, when you're talking about, I've fished for as much as $85,000 before. When you're fishing for $85,000, I think people lose their mind a little bit. I'm not, because winning is so important to me. And when I do get that first big win, it's going to be because I was the best that day. It's not going to be because I cheated. There's just no way. I wouldn't even be able to look anybody in the face. So just crazy.
All right.
But most of the big tours,
sanctioned events. I am doing fine.
Howdy.
All right.
No.
All right. Well, while we're into this, okay, we'll go ahead and get on that trending. Yep. My biggest trending topic this week was about the Classic, and it was actually about I'm not going to say elite. I think that word's cringe. Pro. I say pro. It was about a pro fisherman that actually follows me on Twitter. Big name, and Mike Iaconelli.
Yep.
He has a podcast, Going Ike. He does every week. He has a podcast. So I was listening to his podcast last week, right?
Okay.
And on his podcast, he was talking about the Classic and the. Excuse me, just a second. I need my charger cord. I don't know why. For some reason, I didn't plug my laptop up when I started this. So now I got that little, hey, buddy.
Yeah. Show's going to end quickly.
Me just pause here real quick. Sorry. All right. So I was listening to his podcast. He had some other guys on there, and they were talking about the fans at these events and the flotillas and all that. And one of the guests on his show mentioned, hey, I don't take a few swings at the Masters. I don't play tennis at Wimbledon or whatever. And they were saying that during the Classic or the pro tournaments, that the lakes should be locked out to the public. Personally, my opinion on that, I had a serious issue with that. I'm like, so you are going to deny the public the tax-paying public that pays for the right to use that water access to their water. I can't go there.
No, me neither. Not even no
So
chance.
I
Was there
okay.
what was the feedback? You
I
said it was your
strongly
biggest
disagree.
topic. Ike said it should be shut off.
I had like they were saying like for that day during the tournament that it should just be. Some of his guests were saying that maybe it should just be the tournament anglers, and I'm like, no,
No, I was going to say. I mean,
can't go
what
there. You know,
was there like a
I was not
split?
that, but there are. I don't know. I think Ike himself was kind of because
Yeah.
one of Ike's biggest videos is him talking to a local. You don't own the water, bro. So
Yeah.
you don't own the water, bro. you know.
Well, sure. None of us do. I mean, I have a place on Lake
But
Seminole, and I don't own that water.
it was big enough. I got 36 likes from Mike Iaconelli alone.
Wow.
So in that tweet,
No, my two
I had
cents on
something
all
like
of that.
84 likes.
Hey, there's private lakes all over this country. If you want to do something that's just private and just a shootout kind of event on a big private. I mean, Jimmy Houston has like a 22-acre, massive lake stocked on his
Yeah, the
property.
something
I
Eagle
mean,
Ranch.
I mean, if you want to do something like that, find a private plantation ranch, that has massive, lakes that have been, built specifically for bass fishing, and do something like that. Or some of the old quarries. There's places in
Yeah.
Florida apparently that are private, that are old dugout quarries that have massive bass in them. I mean, do it on something like that. Do it in a private situation. But I will never be okay with saying that the public on a public or state park controlled or state water, wildlife and fisheries controlled lake would ever not be accessible to the public. That would be kind of the dumbest thing our sport ever did if we pushed that. It would be
And I
massively dumb.
and then
I mean,
somebody said like,
you want the public to be a part of it. You want them to come to the weigh-ins. You want them to come to the expos. You want them. I mean, the whole point of the thing is to spread the sport, and that's why they give long talks and speeches about. Listen, if you roll up on somebody's dock and they give you a hard time, just go move on. Don't make a fight out of it. Be good stewards of the sport. Be good stewards of the organization that you're fishing with, and because I've gone out of my way to go around. I mean, I've rolled up on docks and there's 6 kids fishing with grandparents and aunts and uncles. I go so far around them, I don't even make a cast. I go way out around them and I go 2 or 3 docks down and I start over again. There's no way in the world I would mess with that family. Doesn't matter how much money I'm fishing for. There's no way I would mess with that family having a good
oh
time on
yeah,
their dock.
definitely not.
That's just
Oh yeah,
dumb.
no.
Yeah.
If there's
So,
a now, I've got a different side of that, but not if it doesn't matter. Your average Joe, a pro fisherman, whoever's there, if somebody beats me to a spot, that's just etiquette. I'm not
yeah,
going to cast over anybody. If
no.
somebody has a dock on a lake or a private landowner has a dock on a lake and they're out there fishing off their dock with their family, I'm going to do like you. I'm going to roll on through. Right now, if nobody's out there fishing and I'm just drifting down and I skip up under this lady's dock, and I've had this happen. I skip up under this lady's dock and they come running out of the backyard. I own this water. This is mine. You
Yeah.
can't fish here. And can't own the water,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
No, and you
I'm just
don't. I mean,
fishing. Leave me
and
be, you
and
know?
most of those lakes you don't even own the land. I mean, my little place on Seminole up there, our ownership stops 50 feet before the water. That's all public land, technically. I
Right
mean,
of
we
access
still own
or
it.
right of way.
We still have to maintain it, but it's controlled by the Corps. I can't cut a tree down unless the Corps gives me permission to cut it down on that land.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but you really don't own that space. There's rules that the Corps regulates that space with, and you certainly don't own the water or
No.
anything. But at the same time, if the lady comes out and tells me that, I just go, yes, ma'am, no problem. And I move on. I'm so not confrontational on the water because I know it's going to spin me out. It's going to cost me the rest of my day. So I just go, you betcha. And I move on. Even in the tournament, if another tournament boat rolls up on me, um, I just go, okay, it's yours, and I run, unless
Mhm.
I'm in a position to hold that space and I'm catching fish and I want to continue to work this little thing. But if it becomes a thing, you know, I just move on. Life's too short to get into a fight on the
Mhm.
water at 9 o'clock in the morning when I got 5, 6 more hours. I got to be fishing. I'm not going to be in the right headspace if I get in a big fight on the water. So I
Right.
just avoid it. But yeah, there's plenty of people that like to cause issues. Yeah,
I avoid it too, but I still don't appreciate it. Like,
I know,
I
I
wasn't
know.
bothering you.
Hey,
You
listen,
know what
and
I mean?
there's a couple of pros that have taken cases all the way to court and for harassment and had things done to those people. I mean, I want to say it was Mark Menendez. I think it was Mark Menendez, the pro, um, that actually took a case to court because the guy was, I mean, he was throwing stuff at him. He was spraying a water hose at him. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It was like, you know, th- there's somebody coming out and, get off my lawn kind of people. And then there's just aggressive idiots. And I'm glad he actually pursued it because they were convicted. I mean, they actually
most
lost the case. So,
most states do have uh, sportsman harassment laws.
yeah. But that's also why it's so incumbent on us to make sure that we are good stewards of the sport. We have to take care of the sport. We have to do it right. We have to do it fair. We have to be polite. I mean, even if some lady's yelling at you, um, you just kind of you need to remember you're representing a whole lot of companies if you're sponsored, and you're representing a tournament organization, and you can't be an idiot yourself and take the bait from some idiot throwing stuff at you on the dock. Get it
Uh,
on video. Another great reason to have your yellow tech and your GoPro running all day is to make sure you get all that on camera and just contact the authorities. And all you got to do is call your tournament director. Most of the tournament directors I've ever fished for, they would have I would have given them my GPS point. They would have driven there and dealt with it and met the sheriff there, because they're that protective of their anglers. So luckily I've never had one come to that. I just kind of nod my head and move on. It's like you get your way. You're wrong, but you get your way. So because it's just not, to me, it's just not worth it. It would
I will
cause me
say,
so much distress that I would end up causing myself more harm than the idiot did. So
I will say, in my experience, anyway, and I'm sure it's a lot different in a tournament setting because of the revenue those tournaments might bring to the area.
mhm.
But if it's just you against a loan owner, most of the time the local authorities don't side with you; they side with the tax-paying landowner.
Oh, possibly, but I also think,
Especially
uh,
if you don't live in the county to vote for the sheriff.
yeah, certainly. But I
You
think,
know?
those sheriffs and local authorities also understand how much money outdoor recreation brings to their areas and their county.
Mm,
Regardless, I mean, I bought gas in their county. Probably I might be staying in a hotel in their county. I mean, even if I'm just an individual guy who rented a house, or stayed in a hotel for a week to fish on that particular lake, it's not a
right.
good plan to run off your recreational sports people. It's a really bad plan, in fact, because we spend a lot of money, a lot of money in the areas
Yeah.
that we fish or hunt or whatever. And um, so it's a pretty bad model. But I understand what you're saying. If it's your cousins with the sheriff's probably going to side with the cousin, not with the guy in the boat. So I get it. But again,
Right.
avoid is way better than confront. So if you can avoid
Mm.
it, just move on. It's probably best, and it's certainly going to make your day better. Because if you're like me, I would be in a full tilt rage and wanting to burn somebody's house down if I really got into it with them. So it's just better. It's just better for me to just nod my head, tip my hat, and go, "You bet, I'm moving on."
Yep.
Because
But
their karma is going to catch up to them anyway. They're they're having a miserable life already, and I'm doing my best to enjoy every moment I have on the water. I'm not going to let them spoil it for me. So
Right. And back on our original subject, the public, that I just couldn't go there.
yeah.
Some people were putting like, "Oh, well, you had 362 days, other days of the year to fish." I pay for 365 for my fishing license. That's
Exactly.
and no, yeah, but what if that's some poor guy whose dream was to fish during the classic with his kid or something, or he took vacation that week. That's the week he's got to fish. That's
I don't care what the
his
reason.
fishing license.
They
Right.
they
It doesn't matter.
they unless there is a literal reason that the lake is cut off to everyone, there is zero reason why the public could not. Now, does it really make it difficult for tournament anglers? Absolutely. When I mean, I've had guides run me off of spots, but I understand these are guides that make their money every day on whether their clients catch fish or not, and they don't care that I'm fishing a tournament for $20,000. They don't care. It's not they're trying to make that $500 or $600 that day for fishing for taking that family out to catch fish. So
Right.
I mean, I understand why, but again, I just go, you betcha, thumbs up. I understand what you're doing. You're feeding your family, and I move on. There's
Right.
a lot of water that I can fish that doesn't have you on it, so it's okay. But not a lot of guys are wired like me. I get it. I mean, most of those guys are gonna looking for a fight. They're gonna stand their ground and all that. It's just not worth it to me. So
I think there can be, like I said, some etiquette. I'm sure tournament directors announce it. Hey, if you're observing our anglers, would you, please not crowd around the boats. It's some safety issues. I get that.
oh sure,
But to say people like there were 42 boats in the Bassmaster Classic this year. 42.
I thought
Now
that seems
that's a
low.
lot.
I think it was 50. I thought it was 50 something, but yeah,
Oh,
that's fine.
okay.
It was a small
50.
number
Let's say 52, 56, 60, whatever you want to say.
on
Less than
Hartwell.
100. Let's say less than 100
Oh, for
on
sure, less than
Hartwell.
100 on Hartwell,
Hartwell
which
is
is massive.
56,000 acres.
Yeah, right.
I think we can share, man.
Yeah. No, and wasn't this was one of the classics where they were all spread out. There were
Mhm.
not clusters of guys fishing in the same area. I mean, literally that entire field was spread out all over Hartwell, which is
And
kind of cool
somebody
to
like
see.
and somebody tweeted like, "What if that amateur caught the fish that would have won the tournament for that pro?
And the amateur just
What if
had
he
the day
did?"
of their life.
Yeah, those are the breaks. What if a
Yeah,
frog had wings? He wouldn't bump his butt every time he jumped.
exactly. I mean, it's inconceivable that
That's
and in fact, I think it would be horrifyingly bad for the sport. You know how many enemies the sport would instantly have? I mean, some of these, trust me, some of these areas that don't understand the economic impact of having a Bassmaster Classic in Greenville, South Carolina, um, that don't understand that already hate it when big events like this come. They don't want anybody visiting. They don't want anybody coming around. I mean, those people you're never going to make happy anyway. But the people that understand that this is a massive influx of income to an area like Greenville, South Carolina, for the Classic, that it would be idiotic not to encourage that. And so, and most people, like even fishing people, my grandfather taught me when I was 10 not to fish over other people, not to fish on
right.
top of other people,
That's
not to
just
cast
etiquette.
your line near somebody's boat. I mean, I learned those etiquette things when I was a kid, from my
Right.
grandfather. I think most people, maybe I'm just naive, but I think most people have. I still believe this, despite what happens on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. I still believe that most of the people you bump into on any given day are probably decent people who probably have decent manners, who probably, you know, aren't evil incarnate. So, I think most of the guys that pull up and they're fishing with their grandkids and they've got their boat, I doubt very seriously that guy's going to infringe on what I'm doing, especially if he sees, what obviously looks like a tournament situation. I might be wearing a jersey, might have a co-angler, might have cameras, whatever. It's, they're going to probably go, hey, let's watch these guys for a minute, but let's stay back here and do it. I mean, I think most people are going to be polite about it. Most of the vast number of experiences I've had on the water have always been really positive. I told this story a long time ago, but I once rolled up on a spot There was a massive grass flat, and there were 10 boats on this flat, but all 10 of us picked a lane. All 10 of us stayed in our lane, and we were working with the wind across this grass flat. Nobody crossed over, nobody casted anybody. We all just worked across this grass flat in our nice little rows. And that was 10 boats that completely cooperated with each other on the same water at the same time in a tournament situation. So it is possible for everybody to get along. It is possible for everybody to have some decency on the water, and still fish the area that they were confident in and had done a lot of good practice in. So I really
Yeah.
truly believe that most of us want it to be like that.
You know what? Even the one guy arguing the other way wasn't a jerk about it.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Um, but
You
yeah,
get
I was like,
catch more flies with honey.
but exactly. But I did. I said, there is just like I can understand some of your points. I get it. Um, I will say, I just don't see a scenario where you ever get me to your side anytime, not allowing the public to use the public water they pay for.
Will never happen. I
Yeah,
promise you
I
the
don't
outright.
care. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
sorry. I don't care if Jesus is fishing in that tournament. I probably, I still wouldn't
I don't
mess with
know.
him.
He's kind of a big deal. Might want to, yeah. But I don't think. But okay, let's just go there for a second. I don't think Jesus would tell everybody else they couldn't fish.
Nope.
I think he would say, "Come on, let's all fish together." So, oh, Michael Johns joined the
John,
party.
welcome,
Speaking
welcome,
of Michael Johns, I just said your name a few minutes ago, buddy.
welcome,
And
Michael
oh,
John.
and Michael Johns, just for Michael. There's the FX3.
Oh, all right, all right. Well, that gives us a nice segue into the next thing we wanted to talk about. Hey, Tim, you have a son, I believe, right?
I have
Who's
three
on a
of them.
fishing
Yeah,
scholarship now.
yeah, I do
Yeah,
indeed.
I know you
Matthew, most of you guys follow Matthew on Twitter. He's not on Twitter as much as he is on Instagram. But Matthew Drazel, which is at Matthew Drazel, it's not real complicated. But he is actually fishing. He's a junior at Emmanuel Christian College in Northeast Georgia, fishing on a scholarship his junior and senior years. And because of the division level of that particular school, it's actually an NCAA sanctioned sport. He had to sign a national letter of intent. He had to go through all the NCAA paperwork. And he's a true NCAA scholarship athlete for bass fishing. So I think that is just the coolest thing in the history of cool things. And it's happening more and more schools, especially let's call them Division III schools, the smaller, private or Christian colleges that are in conferences of like schools. They're sanctioning it as an actual NCAA sport, and it's doing wonders for them. I mean, there's a lot of schools now that offer scholarships for bass fishing. In fact, there's a BASS just had their giant kind of signing day thing where coaches from all over the country, could meet high school kids that are about to graduate and go to college. It was like kind of like a signing day thing for high school kids, or almost like pro day is for the NFL, where they invite a bunch of college people to try out and they kind of register, they mark everybody. And a lot of kids are offered scholarships on the spot to bass fish. So it's becoming a huge deal. And I mean, the number of high school there, the one of the last tournaments that we captained for our high school team, there were almost 300 boats, high school kids, 300 boats fishing a high school tournament, and they're fishing for scholarship money. I mean, they don't hand a kid a check for $5,000; they hand them a scholarship check for $5,000. But it's huge now. I mean, if you you want your kids to have a cool way to go to school, bass fishing is now an actual scholarship sport at many universities. Now, unfortunately, the big universities like FSU here in town, it's still considered an intramural sport. It's just a club. It's like a bass fishing club. It doesn't have the same cachet as the basketball team or the baseball team. But where Matthew's at, he's at the same level, the same scholarship, the same everything that the basketball team is, the baseball team is, women's softball, women's volleyball. I mean, that all it's a true sanctioned sport, and he's on scholarship, and it's the coolest thing ever. So I just thought it would be neat to talk about for a minute because, and not just because it's my kid, but because it's grown so much. I mean, man, if we had had high school fishing when I was a kid, I don't think I would have done anything else. That's probably all I would have done if I had the opportunity. And especially if I could go to
Alrighty.
school. If I could go to school and still tournament fish, are you kidding? Go to college? Huh. Whew. I wouldn't have been doing accounting and insurance, that's for sure. But
I would have been. It's a nice segue into something else. It didn't
sure.
exist when I was in school here, but it would have been maybe it would have been a nice segue to go into when I blew my ACL in football. So
Oh,
it's just
yep,
another thing you can do, you know.
yep.
Um,
Well, in one of
but
the guys
yeah,
on the Major League Fishing, I want to say it's Shyrock. Either there's two, I can't say it right. Shyrock. Um, uh, one of them, he was a motocross guy and he had a bad
mhm.
accident. He switched from motocross to bass fishing. I want to say it's either Hunter. Aren't there two Shyrocks? Michael Johns, help me out. Aren't there two Shyrocks fishing in Major League Fishing? But I think one of them used to be he was a motocross guy, but he had a really bad accident and he had to do something else. But he's so competitive, he said, "Well, I'm going to fish." So and he became a tournament bass fishing. Is now fishing at the top of the sport. So it's a great outlet if you're competitive and you love fishing. It's a great outlet and it's fairly easy. I mean, you know, so many clubs. I think one of your topics was how to get into tournament fishing. Um, there's so many clubs now all over. Fletcher Shyrock. Thank you, Michael. Fletcher Shyrock. How do you say his last name? Spell his last name for me. Um, I think it's Shyrock. Anyway, like here in Tallahassee, even though it's the capital of Florida, is fairly small. I think we only have like 400,000 people. It's not a huge, city like Orlando or Miami. Um, but there's probably 15 bass clubs just in Tallahassee. And all of those 15 bass clubs, I think the smallest probably has 10 or 15 guys in it. And the biggest probably has 150 guys in it. And that is the cheapest, easiest way to get into bass fishing. You don't have to own a boat. You need a couple of rods and reels and a tackle bag, is to join a local club. Those local clubs, the outlay of cash is very small. You don't have to have a boat. They'll put you on the back of one of the not pros, but one of the club boaters and non-boaters. They match you up, and you can start tournament fishing in local clubs for very little outlay of money. Um, but even in the BFLs, the kind of the entry level, weekend level series, or the ABAs, are the same kind of level. Um, for very little money, you show up with your rods, your reels, and a bag of tackle, and you get to go fish all day, and you get to compete against all the other. Yeah, I think it's Shyrock. Thanks, Michael. Um, you get to compete, for not nearly the kind of outlay. I mean, I've spent 6 years fishing as a co-angler, and I rolled up with my tackle and my rods, and I don't didn't have to have a boat. I did have a boat, but I didn't use it. Um, and you just ride around with that guy all day. And he makes all the actual decisions about where and how you fish, but you control the back half of the boat, and you get to fish wherever you're behind him and throw it whatever you want, and catch your own fish, and you're competing against all the other co-anglers, and it's half the price as the guy that's running the front of the boat has to pay. Now the payouts are half as well, but you can be competitively fishing for 500, or it's like two, three. It's very little. I think it's like 200. $500 or $600. You can fish a 5 tournament season, in the BFLs as a co-angler. It's not bad, and you can actually win boats and stuff as a co-angler. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, Michael Johns just said that's how he started fishing in a club with Chris Lane. Yep. It's a very inexpensive way to get into it. Plus, you learn everything about it without all the pressure of having to know all about it, because you're just kind of along for the ride, and you're still fishing. You're still trying to catch your own fish and do your own thing, but you don't have to. There's no pressure about what spot, how long you stay there, how long you do anything. You're just basically a partner for the day, catching your own fish. So it's kind of a low pressure way and a low income way to get into bass fishing and see if you like tournaments. I was hooked from the first one I fished. I mean, I knew about them from my parents in the little bit of time that they got to fish tournaments, but had never fished one. The 2005 when I got my first boat. No, 2005 when I got my first bass boat. I started fishing a few of the little tiny local tournaments with a buddy of mine, and I was hooked. I mean, the competition, the thrill of it, the trying to catch fish in a time period, and I mean, all of it is just exciting. So, I mean, it's not hard to do. And I'll make this other point too. Even in the true, like the BFLs, the entry level, I think the requirement is still 16 foot. The only requirement for the BFL, the boat, is that it has 16, that is 16 feet long, that it has a steering wheel, and it has live wells. That's it. It doesn't, you don't have to have an $80,000 bass boat to fish a BFL. In fact, I had a buddy who fished an entire gator division in the BFLs. That's the Florida gator division. He fished the entire thing in an ancient, I mean, like 25-year-old bass tracker that didn't have a stitch of carpet left in it, had an old 50 horsepower motor on it, and he went all the way to the regionals in that beat up old bucket little bass tracker. It's not about the boat, never has been. There are certainly advantages to having a really fast, really slick boat, but you still got to catch fish. And the entry, people think you have to have a $70,000 bass boat to fish these events. No, you don't. Every tour, every circuit has a requirement. And I think at the Toyota Series, which is the next step up, I think it's 17 foot. Michael could probably correct me if I'm wrong. But you can learn the entire process with very little investment as a co-angler, even in a local club, to get started, see if you like it, or even at the BFL level where you're actually fishing for a chance to move up to different ranks. It takes very little to do that. So, yep, you definitely learned some. That's why I did it for 6 years, because I didn't know the lakes. I didn't know the idea. I didn't know how these big sanctioned events worked. So I learned everything before I ever stepped foot on the front of the boat. And it made a huge difference, because by the time I flipped to the front of the boat, I already knew I knew exactly how it was run, exactly what the process was, what all the rules were. It was no mystery. I just had to go out and find my own fish now, instead of fishing on the back of a guy's boat that had spent 2 or 3 days finding fish that I got to share in. So,
All right.
Cool stuff.
Hey, Jack, welcome. Appreciate you
Jack
coming in
Hey,
tonight.
Jack.
Been a while since I've seen you, buddy.
Yep.
He's a great guy. He's done a lot
Jack's awesome
for me over the years. He's helped me out in a lot of giveaways. I did this thing for I got a buddy up here who's got an autistic nephew, and fishing is like the thing he's decided he likes to do. So I got some stuff together for his nephew. Jack sent me like an entire old Plano box just filled to the gills. So
Nice.
appreciated, Jack. Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed that. I would have sent you some stuff too.
Yeah.
Always reach out. Never
I still
forget.
know him.
Yeah, no, dude. If you need anything, listen. I got a garage full of stuff that I would love to share with the right people for the right reasons. That's for sure.
We got a wild mammy on 10.
Aaron's on. Hey, Aaron. Let's see, a bunch of old names on here. Excellent.
Yeah, this is back in the old Twitter days.
The OG Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like Fort Loughton classic here.
And I'm like, right? I'm coming up on.
Oh, see,
I'm coming
I
up
even
on
broke
10
out this
years.
mule. This is from the Wolfpack days.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
they still around?
The company dissolved during the pandemic, but I still
Oh,
talk to like
good.
Greg, some of the guys, and
Okay,
they still
yeah,
fish. They're on my
yeah,
Instagram.
nice
It happens.
for sure.
I mean, I got a hat out of it, and they
Yeah,
printed a lot of my T-shirts and stuff back in the day. So
actually, I won a women's shirt from them that my wife still wears from time to time.
he was earlier, Jack. I don't know if he's still in here.
He's Fishing Family, right? Fishing
Mm,
Family Network,
yeah,
FFN.
FFN. Yeah,
That's his
him and
YouTube
Frank used to
channel.
do a
Yeah,
live every week too.
yeah. I did their show a couple times.
Mm.
I'm easy. Oh, I get to talk for a while. You betcha. My wife tells me all the time I
Hit me
talk
up.
too
I sent.
much.
Will do.
Oh yeah. No,
Appreciate
we're
it.
all about
Appreciate it.
hooking people up. Believe me.
I
Um,
think we were talking earlier, like you said, you believe, and I too. I think most people are good. That's just, I think most people are good, but
they just
I
don't get any
think that that
press.
is like, you know, right. Social yeah, social media can be a swamp. I'll give it that. But also, I think of the positive, like this right here is the positive. Like there is
Oh,
a
definitely.
complete new generation interested in the sport now. Like those kids made fishing cool again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they saw kids their age fishing. They saw like your son's on the college scholarship now. Um, there's a YouTuber Noah Pescatelli kicking their Bass TV. He went to
Oh yeah.
college fishing,
Yeah.
so they've opened up a lot of different social media and these platforms, and they've opened up a lot of different marketing opportunities, and you can chase more of what you're interested in now. So it's got its upside too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's one of
And
their logos, by the way. Emmanuel wore the hat for the
awesome,
kid. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good
you send
stuff.
me one of those, I'll cheer him on.
Oh yeah.
uh,
Actually, we just ordered some more, so because
awesome.
they're trying to raise
I'm a
money
big.
for to help with the travel expenses, and so the parents are all buying extra swag.
I take every baseball cap I can get.
Oh yeah, I have so many, it's ridiculous. And sometimes I have to cycle through them and go, "Oh, I forgot I had that hat," and then I wear it for a while, so just to be cool.
I'm sorry to hear
But
that, Jack.
uh,
Um,
oh yeah, ouch. Yeah,
we
the
also had
world is just a dark place these days.
mm, we also had what I was saying like, and also it's introduced me to all you. I know all of you through this, so I've given a ton of stuff to kids and stuff that y'all have sent me, and I am just so appreciative of it. So
Absolutely. No, and speaking of garage full of stuff, if we can segue for just a minute to Gatto, I
I
would
sure can.
greatly appreciate it. Um, so I've been working with a company for the last 2 years. It's a startup. Trying to we have several projects, but the money maker project that'll hopefully fund all the other projects we want to do with conservation is actually, after much investigation and research, there is not a dedicated marketplace anywhere for just outdoor stuff. I mean, everybody knows eBay, everybody knows Facebook Marketplace, everybody knows Craigslist, everybody, there's a bunch of other little things, but there's no dedicated one just for the outdoor space. And so Gatto is GATO, get all things outdoors. Needed to be short, needed to be clean and quick, and that was a great little acronym. Yes, it also is cat in
Mhm.
Spanish. We understand that, but we're not selling cats. But we've created a dedicated marketplace literally just for outdoors things. It's just going to be fishing, hunting, camping, hiking, trail sports, that kind of stuff. We're not doing team sports. There's already a great website that does nothing but kid team sports. This is all just outdoor stuff. So, you know, one of the things we did early on is we said, well, what do you have in your garage? And sadly, when I really cataloged what's in my garage, I probably have $5,000 worth of stuff in my garage that's doing nothing but collecting dust. That's terrifying to me because I'm a finance guy, and that's a lost opportunity. But I'm also a guy that cannot stand Facebook Marketplace. My one my one foray into Facebook Marketplace, actually several, has just been a nightmare. I won a trolling motor in an FX3 tournament for the big bass, and brand new in the box, $1,100 retail trolling motor, and I'm constantly getting hit by kids going, "Will you take 200 for it? This is my poor situation. Will you take 300 for it? Will you do this and that?" And people wasting my time. "Oh yeah, I'm going to buy it from you. I'll meet you on Friday, blah, blah, blah." I'm back out at the last minute. Just garbage. It's the worst experience in my life. Can't stand it. I'll never try and sell anything on Facebook Marketplace ever again. And I'm sure it works for some people and it's fabulous. I also tried to sell Matthew's 10 boat on there. Had one guy waste 6 hours of my time over 3 visits to come and go over every inch of his boat, and then just disappeared and decided he wasn't going to buy it. Like, it's just been a bad experience all the way around. So I've been working with them for 2 years now, really a year on the Gatto app, and we are very, very close. In fact, before I misstate, I think we're shooting for April. Yes, we are. Yep, April. We should be live in April. But also, if you send me an email, tim@thegattoapp.com, we can get you in our first soft release, and we'll send you the first versions in our soft release. But it's just a dedicated marketplace. That sell your rods, sell your reels. You can attach video files, you can do all that stuff. But like some of the higher end stuff, we're protecting both sides of the transaction. We use Stripe, who's the biggest credit card processor in the world. We escrow the money so the buyer doesn't, or the seller doesn't get paid until the buyer verifies receipt of the product. I mean, we're literally setting it up like a high end consumer to consumer marketplace with all the protections. If you use our Easy Post API built in to print your own shipping labels, it's automatically insured as part of it. We do take a little cut of the sale, but only if it sells. There's no charge to list anything but big ticket items. Like if you list a boat with us and it's literally, nobody's going to pay $50,000 on a credit card or the credit card fees associated with that. So we do connect buyers on big ticket items like that. There is a listing fee for big ticket items, but otherwise you can list 100 rods and it doesn't cost you a thing until you sell it. And we just take our tiny little piece of it when we sell it. But it's a dedicated fishing, hunting, camping, hiking, all of that outdoor space. So it's going to be really, really cool. We're also working very closely with a bunch of partners, some big name partners. I'm not sure if I should say those names, but some big deal names in the industry that are going to sell a lot of their aftermarket stuff, we'll call it, on our site as well. So like there's certain sites that will not sell returns. They can't sell them back in retail, even if nothing was wrong with it, but if it's returned. So there'll be some things like that, or some, if it's a refurb, stuff like that. There's a lot of big name companies that are actually going to use our site and use our app to sell some of their other stuff, or just warehouse clearing stuff they just need to get out of the warehouse that they don't have on their retail sites anymore. They're going to use us. So there'll be some big name stuff on there too that you can buy directly from those distributors. So it's going to be really cool. And as soon as you open it, you're flipping through fishing stuff or hunting stuff or watercraft or kayaks, whatever you want to flip through. You don't have to sort through lamps and golf clubs and, somebody's crocheted something. It's just outdoor stuff with outdoor people. And we think it's going to be really big. So, but if you send me oh, that's my dad, actually. Hey, Dad. My dad's jumped in.
Papa Z.
Yeah, Papa Z. Dr. Z. He's a chiropractor. I'll be official since I'm online. But
That's good. My back kills me now.
I don't call it. Yeah, you're a little far. He's in Iowa, but
Uh,
it's probably a 15-hour drive from over there where you're at. But I
you're
don't
a pretty
know.
good drive too, but
How long does it take you to get to the middle of the country?
well, that's relative. They got airports, right?
No, that's true. But anyway,
What it cost me to fill
it,
my gas tank this morning,
it
it might be the same to fly
but see,
now. Who
listen,
knows?
this is what I'm saying. This is why I think Gatto is such a big deal. This is a perfect
Hmm.
time for Gatto to come out. I mean, I literally have a ridiculous amount of stuff that sits in my garage that ends up, a lot of it ends up being donated, and I'm still going to donate a lot of it. But there's some really high quality stuff out there that just doesn't get used. And this is a way for me to make money to pay for my fees for next year and get rid of all this stuff in my garage in a really cool protected way. Hey Stanley, he's the real deal.
Yeah, Stanley. I know. You know what's funny?
He's the
And
real
I
deal.
tell this story all the time in hopes that I'll catch up with him
Yeah,
because it's kind of ironic. Stanley did my live back when I was doing them before he did.
yeah.
Stanley hit his first 1,000 subscribers on my live that night.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I'm really the reason for his success. That's
Yeah. Yeah, you're the entire reason.
yeah.
Stanley, you need to
I'm the
thank
star here.
Kelly every day.
Yeah, but no, Stanley's a great guy. Me and Stanley, it's one of those things we have planned to collab a couple of times. I plan to go to Texas. I was going to do it in 2020, and of
Yeah.
course, like the rest of the world, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So, gentlemen, but yeah, Stanley, gentlemen, I'm honored. Thank you, blessed to be part of this
Yeah.
community.
No, you bet, buddy.
Oh dear,
Hey,
yeah,
listen, and Stanley,
it's
listen.
actually
I, Darcy, Stanley, all of you big YouTube people, I've never been able to watch any of your stuff half the time when I'm here because our internet was so bad. I mean, we had 1.5 megabits for so many years, 15 years. The fastest I could get was 1.5. When we finally paid, the entire neighborhood got together and paid to have Comcast run the underground lines to get us real internet. Now I'm clocking as high as 500 megabits a second now. So I could stream 6 of y'all's channels at the same time now. So it's like I'm catching up to years of years of stuff I've never been able to do. We wouldn't have been able to do this from here. It
no,
was so bad.
no.
So
Actually,
I've got a lot of Stanley videos I've got to catch up on. I've got a lot of Darcy's videos to catch up on. I catch most of yours. Most of yours I catch, but I catch them when I'm at my office. So I watch. I've caught most of yours over the years.
you ain't gotta lie to me.
No,
That's
no,
okay.
hey, you go back and look, and I've got you. You get my likes, and then
Uh,
most of the time I comment on yours too.
I
But
mean,
I'm making up a
but
lot of ground now that I have real internet.
so Stanley, you're not alone because Tim has invited me to his lake house for the past 5 years, and we haven't made that
Yep.
happen either. So
But it
that
will.
invitation
Especially,
still open.
hey, and this is as close as I'm going to come to politics ever in the history of doing any shows or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Now that now that COVID's disappeared overnight, travel shouldn't be as big an issue. So you should come and stay with us, and we'll go out on Seminole for a couple of days. You and your wife come down, just stay with us, and we'll go see if we can't catch some fish on Seminole. Although it's been so long since I've been on the water, you'll be learning it just as fast as I am. Or we'll have to get Matthew to come home from school, and then he can take us out. So
All right. Well, and I'm like you. I've got two boys of my own. For those of you who don't know, who are still here. One's a senior in high school. One's a junior. So hopefully the next couple of years that ends. But so it's a 5 year delay. Yeah.
yeah.
And
But the invite's been there, dude. I've been
I
inviting you ever
know.
since we got the place.
I have managed to get a couple done.
Yep.
You know,
Good.
and I am absolutely honored. I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of invitations from y'all, and I am. But
Yeah.
let's go over the crowd a little bit here tonight. I noticed something a while ago. We got Stanley Orchard in the crowd. We've got Michael Johns, a wild man, uh, Papa Z
Yep.
means the drizzle. It's the Drazel, right? It's the
Yeah,
Drazel.
and my the most amazing bonus mom on the planet, Connie, my stepmom, is although I
Mhm.
hate that word, I always say bonus mom, but she's watching too. She's watching with
I
dad. So
actually, uh, dad, I have a stepdad.
yeah,
But when they got married, I inherited a grandmother, my granny Cross, and when actually it's a funny story when her husband passed away, when we went to the funeral, or whatever. She was introduced me and like, oh, this is my grandson Kelly. She goes, oh, which whose kid? She's like, oh, this is Roy and Chloe. And they're like, because they're all blonde, so they all look the same. Looking at me like, huh? So my grandmother had to explain, oh well, my step grandson, but we don't use those ugly words.
yeah.
So that's
No,
uh,
I was very very fortunate and ended up with two families that loved me
mm,
unconditionally and got bonus siblings, got bonus parents. I hit the lottery with all that. I was a very very fortunate kid. Um, Jeff Hollander. No way Jeff Hollander is on here. And yes, we should do a Twitter fish camp at Timmy Z's. That's been the plan forever. And once again, now that COVID has magically disappeared, again, I'm not going there, but I think that kind of stuff's going to happen again. And I think people would be more willing to kick in 50, $60 and all gather at Tim's places on Seminole and have a big fishing party. We, fish during the day, grill a bunch of good food at night and just have a big old outdoor party. And
you know what? We might be able to make this happen. Especially my job's going away, so I'm about to have some time on
oh,
my hands.
well, I hate to hear that part, but if it means I get to have you down here and take you out, it'd be
Well,
great.
you know what?
But
The more of y'all that will
I'm
come
not
in
rooting for
here, and
that. So
the more of y'all that will come in here, and maybe I can go do something else in my life that allows me to go on these trips.
yeah,
$60, man, could have had me a lot more than that. All
yeah.
right,
Good night,
but
Jack.
hey,
Jack at the bail.
but I'm looking at this chat tonight, and it is a lot of the guys from the original Twitter feed years ago. It's like we got the band back together tonight. I
Yeah.
would appreciate y'all coming in. Kelly and Tim, I got to run. Good night, y'all. Good night, Jack. Oh,
Yeah,
wrong
and
one.
Stanley, listen, I did the math. This was a couple of years ago when we were first trying to put together the Twitter fish camp. I did the math, and literally, we had it at renting the place. We were going to do it on Lake Gunnersville, renting the place and buying groceries for 5 days worth of meals, and it was $60 a person. That's it. And we did have to. We were trying to think a little bit about, like, if you were a couple, we still needed $60 from each person of the couple, but that made it easier because we could put the couples in the same bedroom, so it made it easier to do certain locations. But now that I have the two little places on Lake Seminole, we would just do it that way. It would be even cheaper. So, but no, we've been talking about it forever. Oh yeah, pineapple tattoo. Um, Joe, just so you know, at some point, Michael Johns and I are having a fish off. That's what the pineapple tattoo comment is about. And the winner, or the loser of our fish off, has to get a pineapple tattoo. Although I've said this repeatedly, if we raise enough money for FX3 leading up to it, we'll both get a pineapple tattoo. Um, for that. So, and I'm not rehashing the pineapple story now, but there's a long Twitter threads out there about the pineapples, and every now and again, somebody still says pineapple to me. I've even picked up the pineapple nickname in the FX3 group, so I can't escape that whole pineapple thing. But no, we're gonna have a fish off to raise money for FX3 veteran suicide awareness and prevention, and hopefully raise a lot of money for that. And but the infighting fun of it is the loser of our fish off is gonna get a pineapple tattoo. So, but I'll do
So
anything to do anything we can to help stop veteran suicide. So it's no biggie. You can put a pineapple tattoo on me anytime. But
so many questions.
yeah, Hey, listen, I'll just go with this. I
The
made the
first one,
mistake of saying this. I made the
is it
mistake
going
of
to be
saying,
upside down? That's
no,
you know.
you know, if I'm hanging from a tree limb by my legs, it's going to be upside down anyway. So, um, anyway, I made the mistake of saying a southern house or a lake house, a pineapple theme in a lake house doesn't make any sense. It makes sense in a beach house, not in a lake house. And that started a thing that has now followed me for way too many years. It started a hilarious stunt because that's when I learned what some of those pineapple meanings are and why um, it could be misunderstood. Um, but so that's why Michael immediately said the loser has to get a pineapple tattoo. But we are going to do that. In fact, Michael has some, hopefully, if all of it pans out right, we've got some pretty big plans for that event. But we're going to have a 1 day fish off or some kind of fish off. And we're going to have officials. We're going to do it Major League Fishing style. We're going to do it MLF style, where we catch and release the fish immediately and weigh every fish and that kind of thing. So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to smoke him. I mean, just because he's fishing at the pro tour level now doesn't mean anything. I'm still going to destroy him. Unless we do it on one of his lakes. That's why I think the only reason I should agree to this is if I fish a lake I actually know, because it's not going to be the Harris chain. I can tell you that, Michael Johns, Harris chain magician. Um, but we're going to have a big fish off to raise money for FX3. And yes, one or both of us. I don't know if he's agreed to it yet, but I have agreed that if we raise the right amount of money, we'll both get a tattoo. We'll both get a pineapple tattoo. So, because I know I'm going to win.
All right.
That's
Well,
just goes
actually,
without saying.
while we're in this segue, let's talk a little bit about FX3. What is this organization that you're fishing with, and what do they do?
Oh, I wish Michael was on. I mean, he's on, but he's not on live. So um, FX3 is basically if you go to fishingfamilyforever .org. Let me double check my spelling.
I can.
Fishingfamilyforever.org. That's the website. But really, it's a Michael Johns one man going to do everything he can to stop veteran suicide organization. I mean, Mike has always published, and you can go to his Twitter feed. His personal cell phone number is on there all the time, and he literally reaches out all the time. He meets veterans in crisis all the time, and he will do anything in his power to help those vets out that are in a crisis situation. But the primary way he does that is getting them outside. He gets them on the water, takes them fishing, and does that. So I mean, I've been lucky to know Mike for what are we up to 3 or 4 years now, Mike? But and now more recently, I'm much more involved with FX3 and looking forward to all the kind of cool stuff we can do. But basically, it's getting to guys and gals that are in crisis and making sure that we can do everything we can to get them out of crisis. And Michael is amazing at that. He has a really special skill with that. And I'm just thankful to be what little part I can do to help him and the organization so that he can save lives. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. How did I do, Michael? Yep,
Saving
saving
lives.
lives one cast at a time. There you go.
All right. All right.
But
We can.
but the website, and you know, if you're in a position where you actually can throw a few bucks his way, you can do that right on the website. Again, it's fishingfamilyforever.org. Um, it's been tough running a small organization like that for him, especially in COVID times. But we're doing everything we can to help raise money and keep him rolling with FX3 because it's the right kind of deal with the right kind of people. So
Hey, Michael. Type out that website, and I'll put it up on the screen for people here for your organization,
yeah,
so
thank
everybody
you.
can see it. Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fairly easy. It's just fishingfamilyforever.org, but it'll help. Yeah, people can just copy it right off of there if he throws the comment in there. I don't think I can comment, can I?
Yeah.
Can I? How do I do it?
Yeah.
I don't see a.
There should be a bot. There's you comment on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube. I don't have it open on YouTube. I just have a. I just have. Can I open it on YouTube? Well, no. Then I had. That's what I did on my
All right.
phone, but then it was causing
Fishing.
feedback. Family. Yeah, it's fishingfamilyforever.org.
.org.
Yep. Fishing Family Forever. That's the 3 FX3. FFF F times 3.
Did I get it right?
That's how I've always remembered it anyway.
No caps.
What's that? No, it
No
doesn't. It
caps.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter anyway. Not in URLs. But I don't know how
But
he
yeah,
has.
Michael, I get.
Yep.
And Michael, I can send you an invite, and you can be on here one night too, and you can tell me
Oh yeah,
a
you should.
little more about it.
Michael Johns is he's a character, but he's the right kind of dude, and you will never meet another guy that more genuinely cares about saving people's lives than Michael Johns. Well, at least I hope we all do. I hope we run into lots of Michael Johns, but he's the first one I've run into that's so passionate about what he does that he'll literally publicly publish his cell phone number everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, who only a guy that is willing to deal with any situation that comes his way is willing to do that. But that's how serious he is. And you can call him 24/7, 365, and he'll do everything he can to help save a life. So he's the right kind of dude.
Great. Maybe we can work out something, that tournament you were talking about at your place, around that.
Oh yeah, no, I think the beauty of Twitter Fish Camp, if we can pull that off, not aside from our fish off, that hopefully some of his sponsors are going to be a part of.
First annual Twitter Fish Camp Invitational.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, no, there's so many cool things we could do, and I really think we could pull it off with, other than people having to travel and pull boats to some of these distances. I get that would be an expense, obviously, but I think we could pull it off for not that much money per person, and cover most of the food and the lodging and the everything, and make it super fun. As an insurance guy, I'm a little freaked out about all of the possible liabilities involved, but not enough to keep me from doing it. So, but yeah, Michael,
Just
cool.
have
Yeah,
to.
but definitely y'all need to hook up and get him scheduled for a show, because Michael
We
has
probably
amazing
just.
stories.
Yeah, we probably just have to have everybody sign a waiver.
Yeah, probably. Or we just forget that kind of universe exists and we just have fun. But
that'd be great.
Because I'm just not a litigious person, and what's hilarious is I work in one of the most litigious fields in the world, in car insurance. But anywho, no, it would be great if y'all could do a show with Mike. It would be awesome. And I'm telling you, I promise you, I will completely bring back to life the Twitter Fish Camp idea, and I'll be reaching out and trying to put something together, because I mean, there were guys that were going to come from as far as Texas. Derek from Bounty Hunter Outdoors. Derek was going to come all the way from Texas. So, oh, nice. For our fish off or for Twitter Fish Camp?
Maybe both.
Yeah, get on Garmin. But anyway, I will definitely bring that back to life, because it's been a dream. There's so many people that I want to fish with. I've been very lucky. I met you. We met at, what was it, the Classic in
Fort Loudon.
Yeah.
Knoxville.
We met at the Classic. But I met Michael. Last time I counted, I think 16 people I've actually met in person that I never knew before Twitter. And I've even fished with 6 or 7 of them. So it's been really cool. There is a good side to social media, believe it or not. There is an actual good side.
Yeah, there is. It's like, I met people at the Classic that I knew from social media, and now I still stay in contact with or have a relationship with. One of the people I knew from social media, I knew he lived. I grew up in Cumberland County, Tennessee. That's the area of the world I'm from, but I knew he lived in the Knoxville region. I knew he lived in Knoxville, and he's a YouTuber. He focuses on catfishing, but we all have our preferences. I like
Yep.
fishing. I like fishing.
Oh yeah,
I don't
y'all
really
did a
care.
video together.
We did.
Yep.
We did a video together. We actually went twice. So we went 2 days. Me and Billy Claybo from Fishing with Billy. Now it used to be Panfish Bill, but he's at like 10 or 12,000 subscribers now. He's doing pretty good.
Nice.
So I went fishing with him. Osney Fishing Adventures is up here. I did a video with him. Me and Chris Summerall actually live about an hour from each other, and we didn't know each other from Adam until Twitter. So me and Chris Summerall met about 3 times. Did some fishing. We did a kayak video. The video me and Chris did is like my third or fourth biggest video now. For the
Nice.
longest time, it was my biggest video. So
I remember watching one of the first one. I think it was during the classic. I think it was the week of the classic. Y'all did that. The video, the last one I remember watching with you two in it was the one I think you filmed literally the week of the classic.
we went literally day 2 and day 3.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Now, day 2 of the classic, we actually, after the weigh-in, me and Billy actually went fishing on Fort Loudon.
Nice.
So, I was in the arena with you and Bill Dance, Bill Dance and Jimmy Houston. I mean, that's Bill Dance. My picture taken with Bill Dance and him signing my Tennessee hat. That was bucket list.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, in Thompson Bowling Arena,
I know.
bucket
How
list.
do I mean, literally the stadium
Yeah,
Nealon's literally right behind you.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pass Neyland to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got that hat over there, actually.
Now, okay,
I
so
don't.
here's an interesting tidbit. Other than a few staged pictures for different things, like I've had my picture taken with Darcy from Darcizzle, but that was for an FX. That was a FX3 tournament. It was kind of a get everybody together, take a picture together. I have never asked to take my picture with any of those guys. I've met most of them at the classics at what's that big show in Orlando that we do every year? ICAST in Orlando. I mean, I've met most of these and shaken their hands, talked to them. I mean, I actually know quite a few of those pros. And I don't know if it's just a weird hang up with me or what, but I don't have a single picture of me with any of those folks. I don't know. It's weird. I've never asked for an autograph. It seems like, and I look back on it and go, man, you could have so many cool autographs. Like I should have picked like one cool shirt and just always carry it with me and have all of them sign it. I could probably have all the big names in bass fishing if signed by now. See, Michael. Yeah,
It
whatever,
was,
dude.
but I mean, I had
Yeah.
and some YouTubers. I
Yeah.
took pictures of YouTubers, but I knew them before. Like I'd
Dude,
commented
everybody
on
does
them.
it. It's weird that I don't. In fact, I look back and I feel stupid. Like I could have had all these big names. And I've even gotten signatures for Matthew before, but never for myself. Like I had Kevin Van Dam sign a hat for Matthew because I knew it would make his universe if I brought him a signed hat by KVD. But I actually have a hat signed by Brian Latimer, but only because he left it at our lake house after he won the FLW Tour event on Seminole. He stayed there with Scott Martin and that whole crew for the FLW Tour event.
That was your house? I
Yeah,
think you told me that. Yeah,
dude.
that
Yeah,
was
that's my
cool.
house. If you go back and watch Scott Martin's videos
Yep.
from the FLW Tour event, it's when there was still an FLW Tour on Lake Seminole. What is that? 4 years ago now.
Yeah, and Brian
It's like
Latimer
4
won.
years ago. It was Brian Latimer's first big win. I mean, it was his first big breakout win after 18 years of grinding all the way through the BFLs. I mean, he's the true blue collar. You would love the story. He's the true blue collar fishing story. Mowed grass to make enough money to fish tournaments. I mean, that's the kind of guy we're talking about. But he actually stayed at my house and he left. It's a Stanley. He was sponsored by Stanley, the thermos guys, Stanley.
No, go one
They do a
over
lot
here.
of other things, but it's hanging on my mantle. I actually have a BLAT signed hat from that tournament, but that's only because he left it there for us. It's like I have all these opportunities and I've never gotten autographs. I've never taken my picture with them. It's like, what a waste, man. But I'm usually such in a business mode when I'm there at those shows
Yeah.
that I just don't, it doesn't occur to me. And they're always in a hurry too. I mean, you might get 5 minutes with a guy at your booth, to do a quick spiel or a quick video. So it's never about me. It's about 5 minutes with Ike and Ellie talking about a Yolotech stick. It's not
Mhm.
about Tim getting a picture with Mike. It's about, let's do this. Let's set up the shot. Let's do this stuff. So,
Well,
um,
I was there as a fan, so
oh, dude, no, listen, I'm jealous. I wish I had I'm an LSU fan. We all know this, but if I had a Tennessee hat signed by Bill Dance, that would be quite a treasure, believe me, even as an
it
LSU fan.
it hangs on the rack and doesn't get worn.
No, God, no. I would never put that on my sweaty, nasty head. Are you kidding?
My apologies, gentlemen. I got to run.
See you later, Stanley. It's
All
great
right.
having you on, man.
Yeah. I'm sure me and Stanley will be doing one of these in the future
Oh, yeah.
too.
No, I hope you guys get
A-
together. I'd love to
After
watch.
this, I think I'm gonna try to get Michael Johns on next.
Yep.
We can segue next week.
No,
Michael,
and
I'll get
he's,
your information and we'll talk more about that FX3. I'm very interested in that.
yep. No, we'll get y'all hooked up for sure.
And after I'll give you my information after the show tonight when we're not live, Tim. I'm very
Yeah.
interested in that
I think
Gatto as well.
yeah, no, and like I said, if you guys reach out to me, I'll get you on the soft launch list, and you'll be one of the first to get to use it. We're gonna doing a kind of a soft release first, and then we're gonna be a massive push. In fact, I'm not going to tell you exactly what, but we have a cool promotion that looks like is going to be a good that I think is fairly official, but I'm not going to say it just in case. But we have a big partner who's going to throw some cool stuff into the first people that download, the first people that use it, stuff like
Right.
that. So there'll be some cool incentives. We'll just call it incentives to um, sign up and create a profile, uh, buyer or seller. I mean, we don't care which. We just want people on the app. We want people adding inventory for sale. We want people buying and selling all their used stuff on there. So it's going to be fun, and I think it's
Here's a,
going to make people money.
here's a question for you, Tim. You're with YOLO Tech.
Yeah, if you're talking about, did you see how if you were watching the classic? Um, Jason Christie, who won it, has the Yolotech stick in his seat pole. But if you noticed, there's a couple of close up shots when he's working in the live well. You can see that the wire runs up the pole. He's running the power. He's running power to that to that stick, basically from the battery compartment. It looks like there was a wire running straight up the thing, or I mean, it's theoretically possible. I mean, you can buy those port kits. If he got a port kit to fit into that hole, he may have just been screwing it right in there. But it looked like it was on something else. So, but I'm not totally sure how he did it. But I know Jason Christie had one in his center in that back seat hole as opposed to the actual nav light port or anchor light port.
And Jeff Hollander wants to know what was the email address again?
Oh, you bet. I'm sure Jeff's has some stuff in the closet. The only thing, let me just say this about Gato 2. The only thing we're not going to do on there is guns for obvious reasons with multi states and theoretically Canada and theoretically any other
There,
country. The
there's
idea of
also
doing the
there's
idea of
also
doing
some firearms
guns,
dealers issues
yeah,
you'd have to do.
it's just so many. It would be so hard because basically we would be operating like the gun shows operate, where you're just walking around and it's a buyer seller deal, and there's no gun dealer involved. There's still we looked into it because it's a huge market. We'd love to be a piece of it, but it's way too complicated and way too different state to state and all the federal stuff. But all of the hunting, everything else in hunting and archery now, bows, crossbows, arrows, all of that, knives, all of that, we're definitely going to do. We already have categories for all that stuff. But it's just send me an email, Jeff, at hold on. Let me double check. I have too many email addresses now. Yeah, it's just Tim, Tim, at thegatoapp.com. So THEGATOAPP.com. Tim at thegatoapp.com. And we will
I get
get
that right?
you. Yep, that's perfect. Send me an email at tim@thegatoapp.com, and we will, when we soft launch, hopefully very, very soon in April, you'll be the first people to get to use the product.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing that, Kelly.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have any other questions that you want to ask me or Tim? Just feel free to put them in
Trying to
the
scan through, make sure we didn't.
comment section here. I'll be sure to get to them. We talked about college fishing. Well, let's segue into high school fishing. We
Yep.
talked about the college fishing and all that. So, are you still captaining for the high school team?
No, they're all grown now. Our
Oh,
little team, it was a small private high school in north of Tallahassee, and just happened to get connected with them through my wife's office. She worked with two of the parents that wanted to start the bass team for their little school, and she said, "Well, I've got two bass guys that can captain for you," and we were immediately volunteered to be captains. But it turned out to be a wonderful experience, and we did it for 3 years. And our One of our kids who's graduated is now fishing for Troy University. He's not on scholarship, but he's fishing for Troy in Alabama, and having a ball. In fact, he did really well at the big Major League Fishing college tournament on the Harris chain recently. He had a really good bag, did really well. And he's fishing out of a little 10 boat. He's fishing out of a little G3 boat, and he finished in the top third, I think, out of 280 something boats. I think he finished in the 40s or 50s. Did really well. So that's one of our kids that's now fishing at the college level. So Matthew was really proud of him. He's not proud of the fact that our prior high school kid actually beat him that day. He's not happy about that part, but he was really proud, kind of like a proud dad that, one of the kids he captained for is now fishing in the college ranks. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, listen, high schools all over the country, maybe not as much in the Northeast. I know the winter limits y'all season quite a bit, but down here, there's not a high school in a 1,000-mile radius that doesn't have a bass fishing team. I mean, it is a huge deal down here. But I'm assuming, I know kids, especially Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin has tons of high school teams because they come down here and beat a lot of our kids. But I know Michigan has a lot of high school teams, but there's not. I mean, like I said, there was a high school tournament on Seminole. I didn't captain that one, but I think Matthew captained that one. It had 343 boats in it. 343 high school teams fishing in this national level tournament for high schools. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's a huge
I,
deal. And now these high school kids are
I
getting
actually just thought of
scholarships.
something.
What's up?
It probably wouldn't work up here. We can't tournament fish till June 10th.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know how it would work that far north, but I know there's teams up there
Well,
because I know some of these kids have come down. So maybe they do an alternate schedule.
it's not as much. I mean, yeah, it is for our weather, but it's also for our laws. It's illegal to bedfish here. So
Sure,
during the
but that
and
doesn't.
during the
But keep in
spawn, you
mind,
can't have tournaments either.
you can have a high school bass fishing team there that only fishes in the state next door. You know, I mean,
Oh, that's
there's
true.
teams that they're
That's
just,
actually
yeah,
very true. New Jersey is the state next door, and they don't have
yeah.
as strict of rules.
So
There's a
that's
lot
what I'm
of
saying.
water in New
I mean,
Jersey.
I know there's northern high school teams because I've seen them. I've had them, watched them down here kick the crud out of our kids. Um, so I know there's northern teams for sure. But I know Illinois, was the first state to have. Um, it's literally, however, all the other high school team sports are handled. bass fishing was added to that whole matrix. It's not just a club. It's not like a bass club or, the glee club or chess club. It's literally a sanctioned high school sport. I think Illinois, don't quote me, I'm probably wrong, but I'm nearly certain that Illinois was the first state to add it as an official high school sport. And that was years ago. So I know they do it up there.
Illinois.
No, man, it's like, look, check your kids' school, see what they're doing. I mean, if your kids are into fishing, I mean, obviously we're a fishing family, so all my kids like it. Matthew is the only one that got the bug as bad as I have it, but all my kids love to fish.
One of them does. The other one, he's a
Yeah,
more.
yeah, crazy. See what Aaron said. Crazy enough, the small town the wife grew up in has a high school fishing team. Yep. Yeah, IHSA. Yep, there you go. Illinois High School Sports Association, something like that, or sports and athletics or something. But yeah, but I knew Illinois. I'm nearly certain it was Illinois was the first to make it an actual official high school sport, so that it fell into the same category as football and baseball and everything else. So, cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, literally,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
becoming huge. And if you see, and I don't know how close you followed the classic, but there were high school kids that were fishing a high school classic at the same time or right after the Bassmaster Classic. I mean, it's that big a deal now. It's that big, and it's great for the sport because you have a growth path. You can fish in high school, you can fish in college, you could even fish on scholarship in college, and then go straight into the pros. I mean, a lot of those big names you see now are kids that fished in college. So, what are the two brothers that are on Major League Fishing? Um, they're from. They both went to Auburn. They both won national championships at Auburn in bass fishing.
I'm not sure.
I'm horrible with names. Where's Michael? He can help me out. But uh, no, it's just a huge deal. But they did the same thing. They fished in high school, they fished in college, and then they stepped right into the pros. I mean, they literally just went right from college into the pros. So, and the cool thing about that too is these kids are all getting degrees too, and a lot of them are getting marketing and business degrees because if you don't understand it by now, let me just tell you, I'll make it real simple for you. Bass is a business. BASS, Major League Fishing, these are businesses. These are marketing platforms, these are businesses. And the reason, Strike King and Daiwa and Mercury and all these people will spend thousands of dollars on these things every year is because that if you catch them in high school and you get them in college to get them to the pros, they're now seasoned veterans by then, and they're well spoken. They know how to present the products. They know how to be at a show and help sell product. I mean, it's a business. So a business degree goes a long way. In this stuff for high school kids and college kids. So that's what Matthew's doing. Matthew's getting a business degree, and but all he really wants to do is fish. So, but he's going to have the degree to help him with all the other skills that he's going to need to fish at that level. So it's good stuff. Anything specific you wanted to ask about high school fishing?
No,
Anybody?
just
But I
your
mean, it's
thoughts
fun. The
on.
captains, the trick with high schools is, and it's hard. Believe me, I love that I did it. I love that I volunteered the time. I love that I gave back a little to these kids. But it is one of the most difficult things in the universe to be on a boat for 8 hours and not touch a fishing rod. It is very, very difficult because all you can do is coach. I can tell them how to cast, where to cast, what to do. No, slow it down. No, stop it right there. Now jig it. I mean, I can literally coach them through every single cast if I wanted to. But I cannot touch a rod. I cannot touch a net. All I can do is coach. And it is really hard not to fish for 8 hours. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got to be a part of it. And
I,
it's a huge way to help kids out and get kids into the sport. So I'm glad I did it, but it is very difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's really hard not to touch a rod, especially if they lose a 3-pounder at the side of the boat and you know why they lost it and you're trying to coach them through it, but they didn't listen. It's hard. It's hard to be a coach. I mean, I'm sure it's just as hard to be a football coach and have the quarterback overthrow the wide open receiver. It's hard to be a bass fishing coach and captain and have them miss a big fish at the side of the boat that they should have caught. But yeah, but great stuff, and it's a great way to give back. So I'm really glad we did it.
It sounds fun.
Yep.
All right. We are going to talk more about the what you call it? Twitter
Twitter Fish
Family
Camp.
Club, Twitter Fish Camp,
Twitter Fish Camp.
Twitter Fish Camp Invitational.
And that's
We got to make it really
separate.
fancy.
That's separate from the FX3 Tim and Michael Fish Off and Pineapple Tattoo. We do not have to involve pineapple tattoos in the Twitter Fish Camp. Twitter Fish Camp is really about get a bunch of cool people from Twitter together to all get a chance to fish together. And, we match the people that don't have boats with people that are willing to bring their boats, and we can change partners each day so that everybody gets to fish with everybody. And, we have big cookouts and eat together at the end of the day and share stories and maybe have a few adult beverages if you're into that sort of thing. But no, I just think it would be a huge fun way to get everybody together and go fishing. So
me and my wife actually looked at your Airbnb again a while ago because I reminded her, like, we've had this open invitation for like 5 years.
But I'm telling you,
maybe we should take him up on it one day,
Yeah, and it would, like I said, we can do that. We can have you stay at the Airbnb across the street, or you can just stay as our guests with us at our house on the lake. I mean, you don't have to rent the Airbnb. You're invited to come stay with us. We have a queen size bedroom for guests. You can have a nice space, and we'll eat and fish and have a good time. But if you're more comfortable having a separate space, then we can just block the Airbnb for you, and you can stay across the street. But yeah. Either way, man, you're totally invited. Michael stayed with us.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's Matt and Jordan Lee. Yep, you're right, Aaron. Oh, wow. Yeah, I got you. Did you see what Aaron said about tournament fishing?
Yeah, bringing it up now.
God, really? Thanks, government. Government messes everything up. Oh, wait, that's politics.
Yeah. Trying, man. I'm trying.
No, I know you better come to if we have Twitter Fish Camp, dude, you better be there. I always think of you as Gumpa. I apologize in advance, but you're always going to be Gumpa to me because that's your Twitter handle.
He was Gumpa when I had him.
Yep. But
I had him on my show back in the day when he was I guess he still is. He was making custom rods.
Yeah, I think he still makes them for himself, but he's just not selling them anymore. It's a hard deal to be in, and you without people actually paying you up front, which most people won't do, it's a risky business. I mean, I've seen lots of those guys making really beautiful art that they never get paid for, or they don't get paid properly for, and it's a tough gig. But he made some beautiful rods, I know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you better come to Twitter Fish Camp. Oh, nice. I figured that was a grandkid thing, but I'm glad it's confirmed. Yeah. Definitely, buddy. Yeah, you better.
Yeah, we're running. Yeah, we got go for about 10 more minutes. I just hate ending when I got a crowd,
Yeah, no, I know.
But
Love it, love it, love it. And I could talk all night about this stuff, but my wife probably punched me in the face. But
mine too.
Yeah, I hear you. But remind her, I would all we got to do is schedule it on the right week or the right weekend, and we'd love to have you guys down and I mean, literally as our guests. I mean, I don't like making money off my friends, so
I
should have charged Michael though. Should have seen what he did to the bedroom. Ugh, it's horrifying. But no, I'm just kidding. No, Michael's a great guest. I'd love to have him again. No, he and Matthew were fishing that Toyota Series event on Seminole, and he stayed with us for that. Our dogs loved him.
Well, it's like life's what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody sang that one time.
But okay, last question, and I know the answer to it, but because I know your answer to it, but it's for the crowd. When
Sure.
your kids just can't buy a bite,
Oh,
what do you
yeah.
tell them to throw?
You know, I think we've even talked about this before.
A
Listen,
lot.
every solo bass, first solo bass, every one of my kids has ever caught, including Zachary, with assistance, including Zachary, was on a weightless Cinco stick style plastic bait. It's one of the simplest ways for kids to catch a bass. Now, the simplest way to catch a fish is with a bobber and a cricket, or bobber and a worm, bobber and a piece of bacon. Believe it or not, a little piece of raw bacon on a little tiny hook on my mom's pond in Louisiana is the fastest, easiest way to catch giant brim, is actually a little piece of raw bacon. I don't know if that works anywhere else in the world, but that's the easiest way to get kids to catch a fish. My theory, and it's worked for every one of my kids, is a weightless soft plastic stick bait. I prefer the Mr. Twister Cometa, as we all know. Um, but any soft plastic stick bait, Texas rig, they don't get hung up as much because the hook is inside the plastic, and it's just bass eat them. And it doesn't matter how weird your kid wants to move the rod or how fast they want to reel it, they can catch fish on a weightless Cinco. It's one of the easiest way to get kids to catch bass. So that will probably always be my answer. Now, as soon as they learn how fun it is to catch them on top water, they stop throwing a Cinco. But the easiest way for them to catch a fish on any body of water that has largemouth in it is a soft plastic stick bait in some kind of fairly natural color. Unless you're in Florida, then it needs to be June bug. Make sure it's June bug in Florida. If it's tannic water, especially, it has to be June bug. But anywhere else, something like a green pumpkin, anything in the natural kind of color scheme, and I promise you, eventually your kid's going to catch his first solo bass.
All right.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm 100% with him. That's
Yeah.
that's
although Jeff makes a great point. Jeff said inline spinner, and you're right. It's a fantastic way to catch fish. I remember where I'm at, dude. Down here, you couldn't throw an inline spinner in 90% of the water I fish. Every
yep.
single time, you'd just be pulling all the grass off it, all the schmuck off of it, or you'd catch it on every tree limb on the way back. But yes, an inline spinner, if you're in open water, river water, somewhere where you know you're not going to catch every stump on the way back, an inline spinner is a fantastic way for kids to catch fish. Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Jeff.
Absolutely. I use
Oh,
inline
my
spinners
mom.
for
Hey,
trout a lot.
my mom's on. My mom said even beats the old faithful purple paddle tail. Yep. Hi, mom. I was hoping you were on.
Cool.
That's her first comment, but yeah, that's my mama. She's over in Prairieville, Louisiana, and Dad and Connie are in Lone Tree, Iowa. Actually, technically River Junction, although it's not incorporated anymore. But their mailing address is Lone Tree, Iowa, but they're in Stumptown or River Junction, Iowa, just south of Iowa City. Oh, Mama, you hung in there. I hope did you hang in there for all 2 hours. You're a champ. That's Mama
I'm a
love.
frog guy. Listen, I'm a frog guy. I like the frog. I like a
Yep.
spinner where I can throw it. I like all those things.
Yep.
But there
Gotta
are
crack
two.
cans. Yep.
Yep. There are two types of bass anglers in this world: those who fish a Cinco and those who lie about
Yep.
it.
Although I think Jeff's serious. I don't know that Jeff's ever thrown a stick bait in his life. I know if he's not throwing a frog, it's usually something close to it. But no, I just learned early on that soft plastics is a high percentage bait for bass, and for whatever reason, thank you Yamamoto for creating the Cinco way back when, based on a Bic pen, and yep, it's shaped like a Bic pen, and but it's just that's my go-to. If I can't buy a bite, I've got a Mr. Twister Comito, which is this stick style bait, tied on, and generally with a tiny weight or no weight at all. It's my number one confidence way to scare a bite up when I need one bad. So
It depends on what time of year it is. I fish them weightless, wacky rigged, and even Jeff on the frog. I will throw if I miss on the frog, I will throw a Cinco to get a second shot at that fish.
yep, that's my chase bait every time. If I have a blow up, I'll throw the top water back to it, because sometimes you can get them to hit it again. But if they don't come after it the second time, I throw right back in there with a soft plastic.
All right. Well, a couple more minutes in me here, and then I did double tonight's, Tim. I always go double over the time here with you. Everybody else, I get
My
like an
fault,
hour.
dude. Trust me, my wife will tell you real quick and simple. It's my fault. I talk way too much, so it's my fault.
Always a good guess.
But hey, it allowed some people to jump in late, so that's cool.
Right. So, I will share out all of the things that Tim shared today. We'll talk more about a couple of those things in the soft launch. I'll tweet this if anybody wants to watch the replay. We covered a lot of good information tonight, so if you missed it here tonight and you watch this replay, I appreciate that too. So we'll have Tim on again. I'm going to get the information for Michael Johns from you.
Yep.
I'll send you a message on Twitter, and I'll give him an invite link, and maybe we can get down.
Do I really not have your cell number already? Is that possible after this many years?
You had it at Loudon, but I mean, that's been a while. So I will.
I've had several phones since then, so there's no telling.
Well, you know what else it is? I have an alter ego name, and you go by your real name.
That's true. But see, I'm usually smart enough. I would have stored you as blue collar. Like I would have put somewhere in your contact, I would have put blue collar on Twitter, because that's how, just like to this day, I always think of Derek as BHO, Bounty Hunter Outdoors, before I think of his name Derek, because that's what I've known him as on Twitter forever. And like Gumpa on Twitter, and Frog and Dirty on Twitter. That I'm so used to thinking about those names. And then I'll talk to my wife. I'll mention something. Oh, I was talking to Frog and Dirty today, and she's like who the hell is Frog and Dirty? I'm like, oh, Jeff from Oklahoma, Jeff.
Who's BCF?
And she's still like, who the hell is that? And she's like, oh yeah, you told me about him. Yeah, okay. So it's always fun, but you get used to those Twitter handles, man. But I love the Bass Fisher 3K thing, and that's a whole nother long story. I won't bore anybody with why they came up with that. But yeah, no, I've always just been me, Tim, especially because I was representing companies anyway. So it's like I had sponsors from early on, so I wasn't gonna, try to make people think about my name. I want them to use my name. Hey, I was talking to Tim on Twitter, bought a bunch of product. Thanks, Tim. That kind of stuff makes it a lot easier when they know your name. So.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Tim, thanks so much. Appreciate
Thanks,
you
Kelly. Yep,
coming in.
absolutely. You know it. You don't have to bribe me to come on here. I love doing shows, loving talking about fishing, and my God, I hope I'm back on tour fishing next year. Certainly that's the goal. So
wonderful. We'll talk again sometime soon, I'm sure.
I'm
going to wrap off with the intro because I'm pretty proud of that edit. And since if you weren't here to see it when the show started, that's how we'll end it. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.